Hello and welcome to Torah Thoughts. This week's Parsha, the weekly Torah portion, is Lech Lecha. This is the Parsha where the Torah begins to describe the relationship between Abraham, and God. Now this is very, very important. It's a very pivotal time, a moment in the narrative of the Torah, and here's why. The entire story that's written in the Torah, from the day of creation until the death of Moses, is 2,488 years, roughly 2,500 years. The first two portions, Bereshit and Noach, covers about 2,000 years. Lech Lecha opens up in the year 2023. So what we have is 80% of the history that is contained, or the timeline at least, that's contained between the first word of the Torah all the way to the end. 80% of it is found in the first two portions of the Torah. So it's kind of like, what happens is when you're watching a video, right? Say you're watching a wedding video, okay? And you open up, and what do you have? The baby pictures of the bride and groom. You know, only the bride and groom are interested in this. Who wants to fast forward? And you forward. Oh, wait, here's something I like. Wait, here's me talking to the groom. Okay, wait, let's play it. Yeah, okay, that's nice. Okay, grandma kissing the bride. Okay, fast forward. Okay, wait, here's the ceremony, the chuppah. And my daughter is marching down. She's a flower girl. Play. Wait, let me see this one play. Rabbi speaking. Fast forward. Oh, wait, here's something interesting. Basically, what are you doing? You're fast-forwarding past the parts that are not interesting to you, and you watch what's interesting to you. Well, the Torah, again, it's a very compact document, right? And in it is contained only the stuff that is interesting. I shouldn't say important, the stuff that is important. So the first 2,000 years of history, there are some important things, obviously, and the Torah covers it. Creation, the creation of the universe, that is, the creation of man, Adam and Eve, mankind, they got corrupted, the flood came, destroyed them all, God's relationship with Noach, which restarts all of humanity, and so on. But the other stuff, between Adam and Noach, okay, he had this child, that child, 10 generations, moving on, fast forward, stop, Noach. Okay, the story of Noach, fast forward, afterwards you fast forward, and stop, Avram. Now everything happens more slowly. The story of Parshat Lech Lecha covers a span of 24 years. So you have the first two portions of the Torah covering a span of roughly 2,000 years, and now it's going to be a span of 24 years, because Abraham is at the center of the story behind humanity. Abraham is at the center of the story behind why God created us to begin with. So as soon as we get to Abraham, it's stop. We're going to have a few important words about that. So what happens? Parsha Lech Lecha opens up with, well, giving the backstory first of all. Avraham, from age 3, made a decision that there is a creator in the universe. He looked around and decided logically, all of this didn't happen by itself. Somebody provided me with the oxygen that I happen to need in order to live. I breathe. But if I don't breathe, I die. I need oxygen. Well, it just so happens to be that it's all over the place. Someone created that. It's not coincidence. A tree, I put a seed into the earth, and that seed turns into a tree. Someone is making that happen, but it needs water. Guess what? By coincidence, right? There's water. The earth is abundant with it. Can't be a coincidence. The way everything happens, the way everything functions. And the older Abraham got, obviously, more and more into adulthood, he realized it more and more in detail. There's a creator in this universe. And he set out to find this creator, and there was no Torah given to us yet at the time, and Avraham had to figure it all out logically. He figured out there's a creator. Well, he created humans to be more intelligent than all the other beings. He wants something of us. And so he went through life like this, seeking out this creator, this God. And in his day, people worshipped fake gods that were physical. They made themselves a little statue and then they worshipped it. No, that can't be it. There's got to be a creator. And his entire life, Avraham is searching for this creator until he was 75 years old. Can you imagine? You go through your whole life. At age 75, God comes to him finally and says, Avram, his name wasn't Avraham yet. Avram, I'm the God you've been looking for. You want to get to know me. Okay, before we embark on this project, you need to do first things first, very important. Location. Hashem says to Avraham, you got to come to my house. You want to get to know me better? Come. All right. Now, where are you going to go? Go west, young man, old man. Go west. Okay, and I'll tell you where to go. So God kind of directs him without giving him the exact place. It's kind of like GPS, right? In 200 miles, turn east, right? So God tells him, go west. And Avram follows. Avram believes in God. He follows, and until he arrives in the land of Canaan, which is today the area that's called Israel. Before it was Israel, it was Palestine. No, it never was a Palestine. It was Canaan. And Avram arrives in Canaan, and God says to him, you have arrived at your destination. And then Hashem says to him, all of the land that you see before you, that's going to be yours. That's going to belong to your offspring after you. And so now, before Avram, when Avram leaves, he lived in Haran, which was somewhere in Iraq or modern day Jordan. And before Avram leaves, what does he take? He takes with him. He's got an entire entourage of servants and people that are followers of his and so on. And he takes his wife, Sarai, his servant Eliezer, and his nephew Lot. That becomes pivotal later on. And Hashem says to him, he says, I'll bless you. I'm going to make you a great nation. And I will bless those that bless you. And I will curse those that curse you. And all the families of the world will be blessed in you. So we're going to get back to that a little bit later, because that's very important in how the whole world relates to the nation of Israel. But anyway, so Avram gets to Canaan. And God tells him, okay, you have arrived, and he gives him all these blessings. And after, I guess you can call it a rocky start, Avram goes through certain tribulations that God presents to him. But afterwards, he becomes very wealthy. And so does his nephew Lot. And the land ain't big enough for the two of them. Avram's servants and Lot's servants are constantly fighting, they're clashing with each other, and they make a decision to go their own separate ways. So Avram goes on and ends up living in the city of Hebron, where today he's buried, actually, and so are his sons Yitzchak and Yaakov and their wives. Adam and Eve are buried there. And his nephew Lot goes to the east and winds up in a town named Sodom, or Sodom. Most of you know it better that way. And he lives in Sodom between a bunch of evil people, and Avram living in Hebron. And one day, the king of Sodom, with some of his allies, end up going to war with some other alliance of a bunch of different nations. And they lose the war. And the king of Sodom and all of his people, including Lot, get captured. And Avram gets wind of this. So what's Avram going to do? Avram raises an army and he heads out to save his nephew. And he defeats the alliance, those kings that had captured his nephew Lot. And he rescues Lot, he frees him, along with all of his things, all of his possessions. They took everything, obviously, when they took him captive. But in doing so, he also frees the king of Sodom. So the king of Sodom is back. Sodom is back in business, right? And the king of Sodom meets with Abraham, and he thanks him. And he says to him, he says, all of the people that you freed, I'm asking of you, don't take them captive. Give them back to me. But all the possessions, everything physical you can take. I'm giving it to you as a reward. And Abraham answers him. He says, no. I don't want anything from you. I don't want a thread or a shoelace from you, because I don't want you to turn around and say, you made me rich. So what's going on here? Abraham knows that something is coming. God made him a promise. And in a few verses, we'll see, God formalizes that promise. Everything here comes to you, to your offspring. I don't want the king of Sodom giving me anything. I want God. God's going to give it to me. I don't want you saying you gave it to me. Now, this is such an important lesson that Abraham is teaching us for us in modern day. You know, there is another event coming up in a few weeks. It's an anniversary. It's an anniversary of a monumentous occasion that took place on November 29th, 1947. What happened? The United Nations voted to give Israel a state. Amazing, isn't it? After almost 2,000 years of being in the exile, the United Nations comes along and says, you can have a portion of your land. So Argentina and Honduras and Guatemala decided we can have our land back. How? No, it's not monumentous, it's meaningless. And that's what Avram is telling us. Okay? Argentina doesn't give us our land, neither does Guatemala, neither does America. God does. And if you believe that it's the UN, Jews were celebrating on November 29th, 1947. They were dancing in the streets because El Salvador said we can have a state. And if that's what makes you happy, if you think the United Nations gave you your land, well, guess what? The UN can giveth, and the UN can taketh away. So 65 years later, on November 29th, same exact day in the secular calendar, November 29th, 2012. And it was one day removed on the Hebrew calendar. So on the 16th of Kislev, on the 15th of Kislev, the UN gave us a state. And on the 16th of Kislev, the UN, November 29th, 2012, the UN recognized the state of Palestine. So if you believe the UN gave us Israel, you got no choice but to believe that the UN gave Palestine to the Palestinians. I don't believe either of them. And Avraham taught us that. I don't want anything from the king of Sodom. There's a very, very appropriate analogy, because the United Nations, I venture to say, is no less evil than Sodom. But it doesn't have to, even if it's a friend. Take the United States, for example, great friend of Israel, okay? And that's the second lesson that we're being taught. The United States gives Israel a gift of $3 billion every year. $3 billion. Do you know how important that is? Well, that depends. Do you want to have a leash around your neck? Sure, if America gives Israel $3 billion, then you can wind up with an Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, who says she's going to tie aid to Israel if Israel builds in the settlements, the land in Hebron that Avraham bought. And people get upset about that. I don't get upset about it because you know what? I hope she does. Israel needs to take gifts from God, not from the United States. Israel can have a business relationship with the United States and end up making way more than $3 billion, but not a gift, because a gift comes with strings attached. And this is why, well, I'll come back to that in a minute. Later on, Avraham does make this formal, the formal agreement, so to speak, with God. And God says, I will be your God, and your people will be my people, and they will obey me, and I will reward them, and so on. And he says to him, you're going to have a son. In a year from now, you're going to have a son. And you're going to name him Yitzchak. And all these promises that I made to you, I give to him. This covenant between me and you gets handed down to him. At that time, Avram was 99 years old. Avram laughed. Avram said, I'm going to have a son at age 100. He says, I'll be happy. He says, Lu Yishmael yichya lefanecha. I'll be happy if Yishmael, Avram already had the son Yishmael, who was the father of the Arabs, by the way. And he says, I'll be happy if Yishmael lives in your favor. All these promises you made me, Yishmael can inherit. And Hashem says, no. Hashem says, Aval Sarah ishtecha, but Sarah, your wife, Yeledet lecha ben, she will give birth for you to a son. V'karatat shmo Yitzchak. You will name him Yitzchak. V'hakimoti et briti ito. And I will establish my covenant with him. Lebrit olam ulezaro acharav. For an everlasting covenant and for his offspring afterwards. So, and he says, Uli Yishmael shamaticha. As far as Ishmael goes, as far as the Arabs go, I heard you. Look, I blessed him, and he will be fruitful, and he's going to multiply, and he's going to become very numerous. Right? And 12 princes will come from him. So I guess you can call them like 12 sheikhs, the heads of the Arab clans that eventually became Arab states. So God blessed Yishmael. Ve'et briti. But my covenant, Akim et Yitzchak, I will establish with Yitzchak. Asher teled lecha Sarah l'moed hazeh b'shana acheret. To whom Sarah will give birth at this time next year. So, in case you're wondering, all of these things that Avram is teaching us, who says it's us? Avram had many other offspring. Right here in the Torah. This is, by the way, Genesis chapter 17, verses 19 to 22, in case you're interested in looking it up. It's Bereshit, Yud Zayin, Pasuk Yutet Techav Bet. Now, here is where God says, no, not the Arabs, the Jews. Now, so we have God promising all of this to Abraham, And he says, makes it clear, these promises are going to get handed down to the Jews, right? But how do we view there are countries who support us. How do we view that? Take Donald Trump. I voted for Donald Trump, but don't mistake it. Trump is not Mashiach. Okay? When Trump moved the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, there was such a celebration. And people are thanking him. It's nice. It's a nice thing that he did. Okay, the sentiment is nice. Even though personally I don't believe that any sovereignty, an embassy is a sovereignty of the nation from that embassy. I don't believe any sovereignty other than Israel belongs in Jerusalem. Different argument, different conversation. But the point is, when other countries began to follow suit, we're thanking them up and down. I think it's now, is it Poland or some other country? And we're thanking Czechoslovakia. I don't thank Donald Trump for moving the embassy to Jerusalem. I congratulate him. And this is something that many Jews in America need to understand. Do you want America to support Israel? Absolutely, I want America to support Israel. But not for Israel's sake. For America's sake. Getting back to what it says in the beginning of Parshat Lech Lecha. And I will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you. If America wants to be blessed, America needs to stand by Israel. Not because Israel needs it, but because America needs it. And then all the families of the earth will be blessed through us. How? Because if they're on our side, then God is on their side. Thank you for watching. Shabbat Shalom. Post your comments below. Post your own videos. And please don't forget to share and like.